Morning, everyone. So, how do I start? I have the joy of talking about compliance and governance and risk. So I'm in my glasses, I fasten the top button. So you're gonna have to go with me. I'm gonna try and make it, you can't really say enjoyable, but as easy as it can be along the way. Before I start, what I want to say is this is not a governance doom and gloom session. One thing that Dan said at the beginning is we're going to try and give as many takeaways as we can throughout the whole day. So I'll be talking about some of the frameworks that we have, some of the methods and models that we use. However, I'm going to explain a little bit more about how they actually work. So you can either use them or you can create your own. So we'll give you as many takeaways as we can along the way. Well, first of all, what we want to do is just start off by explaining a little bit about the landscape. We go back to the beginning of 2025. AI started really coming out commercially, started being played around by the public at this point, and it was great. It was all small tools, it was the small web apps, and everything was starting to come. We started moving towards the middle of 25, and people started thinking, bro, what's coming next? How does the data look? How is compliance and governance going to start affecting all these tools that all of a sudden are being used on the operation floor that not many people know are being used? You then start coming into the end of 25, or even 26, and one thing we were talking about in some of our sessions at the end of last year is, if you remember GDPR, and you remember how that stepped into, and you remember the pain and misery that came of that at times, we're about to step into another world of GDPR where people are having to backwards engineer, go back, hire loads of temporary staff, bring the teams in, set a special team up in the organization to go around and work out how to then deal with this. How do we do with SARS? How do we do with all these right to forgets? And a majority of companies I know, everyone was late. No one needed that hour. So what we've been explaining to people when they're speaking the last 6 months is stop thinking in that space now, because it saves you having to work out a little down the road. But I'm going to give you a bit of a landscape. So to try and demystify where governance with AI sits, they are the hard facts right now. So there is no dedicated UK AI Act. A members bill came out last year, but that was a members bill. It's not a formal bill that the government will be stepping forward. And by the way, you can have a copy of these slides, sure as afterwards. So we got the King's speech in May, and with the King will open up the bills that are to be done for the remainder of the year. And right now, it's thought that the AI Act will come into play, and it's looking like it will start to be coming in to take effect the last quarter of this year. However, from a European Union standpoint, the EU AI Act is in full-blown action right now. It is taking effect. If you operate in the EU, or if you sell into the EU, you are liable to abide to all the regulations that have been brought into place. And so prohibited practices are in force, the GPAI model, and the obligations that will come. I'm not going to sit here and bore you and learn these mean. I'll let you Google it once you get the slide deck, a copy of, to see what it is. But the penalties with the EU AI Act are quite severe. There are 2 companies that have already been penalised, quite significant fines as well. Not that much. So that's probably the worst that we'll go into, but they are taking place. But back in the UK, use and access. So the Data Act 2025, use and access, that was the first statutory step. What I'm trying to elaborate on here is, I'll talk a little bit more later on, is don't wait for the UK AI Act to step in place, because there already are regulations through certain government bodies already taking effect right now, and have been for a significant amount of time. And not many people know about them all, because the doesn't. There's the ICO, there's Ofcom, even Ofgem started to look at these in terms of the utility sector that they're bringing in. So there's more to come. The horizon landscape looks like that at the minute, in an easy, simplified way. I'll walk through top to bottom so you can understand a little bit what they are. Like I said, I'm not going to go and bore you too much, but the ICO ADM code kicked in. So this is code in development. This is automated decision making ICO have always been dead set against automated decision making. I'm the ex-CTO of the UK Ombudsman for energy and comms, and we were simply not allowed to utilize fully automated decisions. Someone puts a complaint in, it needs human in the loop to be able to understand that, digest that, make sure it is something that's not been automatically classified wrongly, should we say, as a decision that's made in favor of either the company or the consumer is in the right place. That's starting to take place now. The ICO are really stepping in, and the ICO in the UK are the ones that have them governing powers to be able to impede organizations in terms of their forward motion of certain technologies. And not many people know that. SEA obligations. So new AI rules are coming in for senior managers. So FCA is starting to look at how do all senior managers, therefore how in the fintech world, how the senior managers start looking at how to manage their team's use of AI. That's right. I've already spoken about the key speech in May, so everyone's waiting to see whether it's going to happen this year, next year, early this year, but it's looking like it's going to be the final quarter of this year before it kicks in. So on the 2nd of August, the EU AI Act has been in play for 112 days. And at that point, high-risk system obligations are enforceable. Essentially, that's the point when the EU AI Act can start leaning on UK organisations to help them penalise UK businesses. So at that point, they'll open up clear engagements with ICO, clear engagements with Ofcom, and they'll be allowed to utilise and have some of their information passed along to be able to step forward for any penalisation or any recommendations for organisations to change in that front. Onwards, agentic AI, so DRCF, again, I'm not going to go into that, but agentic AI is the serious part of the regulations to come. Right now, it's pretty straightforward. It's how you use an AI, it's what you use an AI for, it's what you do with that data, it's the environment you're using AI in, because if someone puts imagine someone got a SAR request there, how would you get that out of Claude right now? How do you give it a check to unless you're using private clouds or anything. But when it comes to the agentic, that's where it's starting to scare organizations because it loses control. You got one agent passing something to another agent automatically. That's creating routes to a different agent that you didn't even know it was doing at that point. All of a sudden, it's everywhere. So right now, the thought is if you're going to start using agentic, do it all in one big private cloud that you own. Don't do anything off to keep it all in there. That way, all your dangers are at least in one pot. So there's enough of the fear mongering then. So that's the plan. That's it. What we're going to talk about now is what we're actually seeing organizations do. And I'm going to really oversimplify this. So please forgive me if I'm teaching to suck out to this point. But one of the elements we're seeing is because AI is moving so fast, everyone thinks the compliance side of it is so complicated. And it's not. All people have got to remember is just go back to basics for what you've been doing for years. And I'm not going to counter what Dan said, but I'm going to give one that's a half truth. So I step into that. So the fashion everyone's doing right now, everyone's got an AI policy. Everyone's got one. Here's that nice PDF that was created that every new starter or everyone that's been retrained, signed, it was then put in their OneDrive, put into SharePoint at that point, and it's never looked at ever again. Everyone does that, tick in the box. Everyone jumped at that. End of last year, that's where they mainly kicked it. And that was a tick in the box in terms of like, we've got an AI policy, it's great. We'll stick it into our L&D department, we'll retrain everyone every 3 months to remind them what to do. But there's one thing there. And yes, that is right, that has to be done, but there are better ways of doing it. The waiting game. 50% of organizations we deal with are going, there's too much going on right now. We're not going to touch it. We don't know. We're going to wait for it to settle, or we're going to wait to understand the regulations a little bit more. We'll just carry on playing with it like that, in pockets. The downside is the cost that comes with playing with it in pockets, because you're still using your data to play with it in pockets. And That's one of the elements that our organization do. And then the governance versus speed, so compliance will slow us down. It's probably true. Can't get around it, compliance, and if you do things in a set way, and I'm not saying the right way, I'm saying the set way, because every organization does it in different ways. Yes, it will slow you down. Is that a bad thing? Is slowing down a bad thing in terms of how to use these tools that came out? Every Microsoft update that took place, that's always looked at ahead of time by, say, the departments in the organization. Then it's released to everyone else. Every major change that took place, Windows XP, jumping from that was slow because it was a real different way of working, and I had to embed, and people had to think, how do I use this? How does this change my day to day? So there is that balance that needs to be gauged. I don't know what that balance is yet, by the way, so I can't help it on that one. Every organization is different. But stepping into this one in terms of where to start with your own team. Like I said, Dan said, and in terms of what Dan's done, bring the collective. So we've all done your jobs. That's the easiest thing to imagine. I wouldn't be doing this if I hadn't been a CTO. I've been in tech for 20 years. I'd messed up more than I got right. Starting to get more things right, getting messed up. I've reached my over 40 cuff at that point where I've learned all my problems. But whilst the collective is great, you still can do all this yourself. Okay? Dan's can launch a glass at me from somewhere else, hop in a minute. Because without, that's the whole point of us existing. We like to come, give some advice, give some guidance. Yes, there are things that you can use us for, but simplifying AI, even the governance of it, is where our key aim is in the UK. So, up there, yeah, all the phrases that you've heard, well, probably not all of them, but I wish the slide was bigger. But these are all the things. Adoption's hard. AI is just a hype. It's risky. We can't use it. It's unresponsible. That one in the middle, AI is not an IT project. I'm going to go into this a little bit more of a bit. However, this is the bit I contradict two of our speakers today. It's not an IT project, but that's half right. Okay? And that's why IT teams, and I classify IT, data, software, classify more different in my head. IT teams have been doing projects and strategies and roadmaps and governance and risk and program management for 20, 30 years on things just like this. So where AI is not an IT project, it's a wider business project. I agree. However, because it's classed as a wider business project, people are forgetting to utilize the IT leadership that will exist in that organization. Don't get me wrong, the IT leaders will be in the room. The CTO will be there, the head of data, the head of IT, head of software development, head of engineering, they'll all be in the room. But it's the people, it's the engineers, it's the service desk, it's the other IT folk that naturally go, and if there's anybody in the room, please forgive me, but where's that going to bite me in the arse once it goes live down the line? Because we're IT, we're lazy. We want to do the leanest, quickest way to which we don't have to recycle something down the line. We don't have to repeat anything, and we can look at all the problems. So, glass half empty guy, not glass half full from that standpoint. We'll look at mine, all right, in 3 months' time, I can see that going move. Why don't I put that into the project now? Why don't I put that into the change now and deal with it as we're implementing it, as we're adopting it, so that when it goes in, it sticks and it stays and it's safe. Okay, so that's one of the major advice, and it astounds me how many clients we are engaging with where change and transformation in the room, it's being massively led by operations, which is great because it's their end users that are using it, their staff. But there's one or two representatives from the tech space in the company, in the room at that point in time. And it's getting less and less. And I don't know whether it's those IT folk who go, just give up, let them do whatever they're going to do. But the problem is they're the ones that look down the horizon 6 months, 12 months and go, that's going to be a problem. You've got to bake that in. And yes, this is the moment that goes, compliance slows everything down, but sometimes it's for the right reasons. So, little takeaway from that standpoint, start including the IT folk even more from a compliance and governance standpoint. Right, where to start with the basics? Rather to know. So, these are the bits that organizations get wrong. These, we've got a long list and we've simplified them into the top 5, just to make it easy. No AI inventory. It's the first thing we speak about when we go into it. What do you do with AI right now? What have you been playing with? Where you at? Where's your inventory of what you've got? And even tech folk go, we haven't got one of them. Okay, what apps have you got in use in your organization? Oh, we've got all these. Okay, where's your asset list for all your, oh, here it is, it's right here. Treat AI the same. All your applications, all your web applications, your locally installed, your agents that you've got in Teams, stick them on a spreadsheet. And it's as simple as that. Even better, if you're using it to a bit of a degree, get that to stick it on the spreadsheet for you. So you don't even have to do it and then maintain it. The piece of advice I would say is having a list of all your AI apps on a spreadsheet with all the details in is great. Don't miss out your SaaS products that have AI now built into them, that get released every couple of weeks. That is now starting to take over. Organizations have an agent or standalone applications to use, so they're standalone ChatGPT or the Claude that's out on the floor. Organizations are now seeing and now falling foul of, well, actually, our SaaS products that we utilize day in, day out. Sage now has a bit in it, Phil. It's great, Sage owns rate, just to be clear. But it's got it in. Add it to the inventory, add it to there. This is where it leads into a little bit more around ownership. So you can have one owner that owns all your AI in your whole business, or within your department, allocate the champions, as Dan said, make them the owners, because they're the ones that are using it day in, day out. They'll notice when it upgrades, sneak through, that's sitting there, that's now got AI in it, that people are starting to use constantly. So, AI inventory. 2 is classified risk. So, high risk categories, you do have to start allocating, right, these are the tools we're using, these are the risks that we carry. And we're not talking about something else, we're talking about the same spreadsheet. Add a couple more columns on the spreadsheet, just start recording this. These are the risks that are now being in there. And if you like, add them to the big ones to the risk register. So everything I'm explaining is no different to anything else you're doing in the organization right now. You don't need this complete new bubble way of working over there. Use the things you've always been using for the last 20 years. 3, governance as a document, not a structure. So, you can have policies left, right, and center, and everyone reads them once, signs them, and they just get popped in the back drawer. And they get revisited during fresher training, new starters, changes to these policies, and they're great. And AI policies and ways of working, it's no different. It's going to be exactly the same. So if you go, right, need an AI policy, great, put it in, and then it goes in the drawer with the rest of them that are already up there. Start thinking of different ways of bringing it to life. Change and transformation project, especially when it gets to the point where it's trying to embed the adoption, does this really well. They'll do the touch points on the floor, they'll do the revisits, they'll do the stand and the suite so people can turn up and come and chat around where's your latest policy inside your organizations. Bring it to life with your employees more and more. 4, human oversight. There's going to be speeches later on, far better, even though my company's got Human CTO, right? But they'll explain around human adoption a lot better. However, you do have to work out what levels of AI you're comfortable with full automation or behind the scenes automation where you don't quite understand how it came to the answer. And when you find that out, add it to the same spreadsheet. So, it can sound awful now. Go back to spreadsheets like everyone will do, but it's the same thing. Finally, I won't go into that too much. But just to give a little bit more information. So the accountability question, whilst it does live with the board, don't forget the capability side. don't forget that change and transformation teams, probably just as much, and IT teams have been embedded in this for a long time. The one thing it will do is I'll question, so technical leaders do tend to think in systems. They don't tend to think in overall solutions problems that is business-wide. It's the hardest part of the job at times because you do get centralized, you get focal look into your own department that sometimes it's hard to scan the horizon. Challenge yourself. So if you're a CTO, if you're an IT manager, start challenging yourself into how you are acting with the rest of your business as well, because this matters an awful lot more. So the whole compliance slows things down. IT are just blockers. I can't get the data out. The data's always rubbish. So it's the data guy's fault. Software developers, the thing doesn't work because they only look at the little ticket to do it right now. It's a bit of a reflection, a bit of a mirror exercise for tech folk to start looking at how you do it yourself moving forward. I spoke about the rest of it, so I won't go into that. Right. It took me some time to work out whether this part was going to be how to control the process or how to manage the process. And I went with control because if we whittle it down to the simplest form, it's not about managing everything going forward. When it comes to compliance and governance, it is about controlling. And that's got a bit of a bad rap where it's, no, you got to manage it, you got to work with everyone, you got to do it in a certain way. It's not. You have to control the risk. If you're not controlling the risk, other people will start controlling it for you by ignoring what you're doing. So, frameworks. This is the exciting bit for me, not the rest, but nice. We have two frameworks that we've used within the collective. It's part of ours, it's part of the Compass Grow we've got. And again, I'm not plugging, I'm going to explain to each one, but I'm going to explain how you can make your own as well, and what they mean. The biggest challenge that we have when we go into an organization is we'll speak with the execs, we'll speak with managers, we'll speak with guys on the ground, we'll sometimes speak with customers as well. We'll also speak with suppliers, and we'll find out that big holistic picture of that organization. And then from everything we do, we use the technology that we have, we use the experience that we've got logged down, and we'll rip through all the user cases that come out. And there could be over 100 use cases. That's great. There's always loads of user cases. User cases to us are two sides of a coin. One side, every business is the same. Every business. There's no user case that one business cannot use and the other one doesn't. The other side is bespoke to that business because it's used their products, their services, their outlook, their size, their capability, the territories they operate in. So that's quite bespoke. So our hardest problem is working out, right, Dan's mentioned about the EBITDA with one of the Houston clients. What's your main driver? What's your main point of doing? Now, the CEO may have one view, CTO may have a different, CFO may have something else. So what we like to do is present top ones based on a holistic view, but in a framework to which CFO can just go, sort by that column. The coup would go, sort by that column. And the priorities differ, and we can't always make them decisions, but we can set it up so that you can argue the toss over there constantly. And we like to watch that sometimes as well. But these two frameworks are very straightforward. ARIA, AI readiness and impact assessment. Okay, that is which AI user cases should we pursue and in what order. That's all it does. Okay, there's 15 dimensions to it, spread across 4 pillars. And all it does is it gives you a calculation matrix that you use going forward. When we do this with clients, we give them the framework as well. And it allows them, because we're there for a period of time, we then disappear, and they've still got user cases coming out of these for the next 2 years. So give them a framework where they can go, okay, well, I came in, I know how it worked, I'll calculate it based on this. It then goes there. Well, we could move it up in the list or not, based on what it is. That's all that Aria does. And it's not hard to make. Probably undercut a bit, but you can sit there, you can work this out yourselves. You can create a framework that organizes which AI user cases we should pursue based on what we want. You've got to be really honest on what you want. You can't, if you're not honest on what you're trying to attain, and when you set up your scoring metrics, you'll constantly be fighting it at that point. Grace is different. Grace tends to be for some larger organizations, okay? And what that does, it's the secondary framework, and it's straightforward. How do we do it safely? And what must we have in place to bring it to life, okay? So that one is a little bit more complex, but because you have to understand as a business, where you operate, where you sell, where you employ, what legislation, what regulations you have to abide by, and you have to list them all out. And you have to give them a scoring metric against each one. And then every time you bring a user case, it has to come in, you have a little committee, you sit there and you go, we want this sounds great. It's been rated as a 3 in ARIA, it's our third most important one, but let's go through Grace and let's work out what are all the risks. At the end, it just pops out with a score. Again, you could do this in a spreadsheet, but use AI to do it, that's easier. Having them two is great because when you're setting off your strategy from a board standpoint, everything then aligns downstream. And then when you work out the calculations, there is a tangible element that can be used to push upstream. I want to do this as CTO. My team are constantly. And there's a guy that I work close with, Jason is in the audience, ex-head of data down too. He was constantly telling me, no, that's shit, don't do that order, do this instead. Right, okay. Didn't always listen, most of the time. The easier of everyone that evidence to go, and this is why, which is the hardest part with AI. This is why we're going to do it in this way. When we're with clients, it's sometimes the most upsetting part because go through all this effort and you go, here's your use case list. Ta-da! Oh, I didn't expect that one to be there. Oh, where's the sexy, flashy ones? Why are they down there? Because this is rated what you can do now based on your capability, what you should do. And these ones here have dependencies upon these ones here. So that's all it is. It's working out priority based on calculations that everyone can stand by. If you've got a copy of these, just give us a shout afterwards. I would say, not got the client's name. No. Okay. So this is one of the recent ones that me and Dan done. We'll call them Client X. They operate in over 40 countries around the world. 18,000 employees. This was specific to their HR department, which was complicated as hell because of where they employ people, and they employ people everywhere. The first standpoint was, can you just sack all them in them countries and just hire more in these countries because it make this job really easy at that point? But obviously, can't do that. We came out with 15 single department AI user cases. Off the back of 15, then 15 spewed into 6 deliverables. So we gave them 6 sets of packs that helped them get to that point. It was a challenge. It was a massive challenge because the time got spent not understanding how they work and what they do. The time got spent working out all regulations they have to abide to. They recruit people in Americas, they recruit people in France, they have different employment laws, and that is the hardest part of this. However you do once, it's done, and it's there, and it's that one policy that people do come back to and visit again and add to it or amend to it over time. So that is just an overview of what these can help with. Right, moving on to final step. So if you're going to take anything away today, these are the 5 things we would advise. And these are the 5 things we look at straight away when we talk to clients. Do your AI inventory, and you could go home and you could do it on your train if you know what you're using inside your business. I won't go into that more, but it's really straightforward. Check the EU AI Act, Annex 3 and 4. They're the main ones to look at, just to see if I flog something to that country, or if I employ someone over there, or I operate here, what do I need to know? Put that into the same spreadsheet. Name the people that own the elements in the inventory, okay? Because from that point on, they name it, they live it, they breathe it. If something changes, it's their fault if they don't put it in, but if something does change it, if you own something, you tend to sit on top of it an awful lot more than a committee looking after a big spreadsheet of individual apps that are owned by everyone else. Applying existing governance, so don't go and recreate an AI department that has a separate risk register, that has separate frameworks, that has a separate change management department. Use what's there, make this bake in to what you already have in your organization. And if you look and you go, well, the capability is not there, you can start by upskilling them areas right there and then. Always try and start at how Dan spoke before about going and hiring a data scientist. It's great. Go hire them. They're there now. But everyone that's in a boardroom right now, they weren't taught AI in university. It's just like any other tech for people that have been. There's people in IT departments, data departments, change departments that have been there 20, 30, 40 years. And they learned at uni what they learned when they started, unless they've done that along the way. They've learned on the job for the changes that have happened. Do the same with this. And the final one is, don't wait for the UK AI bill, because when it releases, it's going to have some quite detailed elements in it, but it's not going to be game changing. It's going to be everything that the EU one already has. It's going to be slight specifics to the UK, and it's already going to have everything in it at the ICO, Ofcom, everything that the online responsibility network is doing right now as well. It's all going to be there. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. It's too cheesy. But these are why, yeah. The main takeaway is, it's not, whilst AI is great and brand new, how to deal with it, how to govern it is not new. It's just the same as any other technology that's came on board. I'm early. That's me. Done.